Welcome back to the channel. Today I am going to watercool a RX580. So this one here is the PowerColor. It's also known as Dataland in China. This is one of the only, other than a reference model 580, I believe, but one of the only ones you can actually use a Waterblock on because nobody really makes them. However, Bykski does make these. So this is the Ice Dragon, and what we get in the box is, looks like thermal pads, instructions, screws, and two little plug things. Thermal paste, Halzai, some strange brand. A Rgb Controller, and there's 6 fan headers on here. Yeah, this does RGB, and then it also controls a bunch of fans. This is included with a Molex. No SATA on here. There's a infrared receiver, so basically you can change fan colors. And the reason behind that is, of course, this has RGB. So here's your block. Get this out of here. This is the RX580 Waterblock, made for the, they say it's a Devil X, so the Red Devil card. Model number ADL58DEVIL-X. This is a full cover block. You can see they actually routed out for different components here for clearance. It's nickel plated copper, so it does have some weight to it. There's an acrylic manifold on the top. This is why there's 2 plugs included. These are pass-throughs, so you can SLI, even though that makes no sense these days, or in this case it would be a crossfire. Nobody uses that. So here's the fantastic block. As far as the RGB stuff goes, there's a little cable off the bottom. You can see there's kind of a strip right here that they just stuck to the bottom of it. Kind of illuminates the whole thing. Kind of neat. Let's go ahead and get this guy apart. That under there, and I'm not using this thermal compound because I have no clue what the hell this is. So there's all the other screws. Those are going to stay to hold the back plate on. Doesn't look like they did too bad of a job on this card. Just got a switch here and here. Those ones, one was BIOS LED switch, so this will turn off the glowing logo, which now doesn't work at all. And then I have an OC profile and a silent profile built into this switch here. So there's this guy. I guess we're going to compare what's going on with these two. So check out. This is going to mount. Should be this way. You can kind of see a side by side of what's going on with these 2 card coolers. So the factory one, it's pretty hefty. These heat pipes are massive. But do you have thermal pads on here? It looks like they were interacting with the, hitting the capacitors. What was that on? That jumps over. It's got like these little MOSFETs, so that was actually actively cooled. It looks like they did do the same thing on this one. Do have a little bar to come down and touch on these. Another thermal pad up here is touching these 2, whatever these are. Does not seem to exist on here, so they did not route in these 2 guys up here for power delivery. Other than that, we've got a square here for this pad. Square for this pad. This should take care of those. Doesn't look like it'll exactly 100% line up. Let's see how this thing lays down onto it as far as what we will be touching here. Oh, it appears that's interesting. Cleaning the capacitors, that's fine. This is actually using a few mounting points that were not used on the original. A gap between the CPU. Alright, let's check out what's going on here. So these right here are actually making this stand off from the CPU, these little nuts that are here. Wonder if they need those just removed or what. So I'm actually seeing a gap between these two, which means we'll never contact the CPU, or GPU, I'm sorry, making this completely pointless. Oh no, that's correct. It's doing something weird. So in the original, I only had 6 screws to pop this off, 4 on the GPU and 2 over here where the VRMs are. This one is actually using a couple of the backplate screws. I've got a standoff here, here, and here, and here. Is that all of them? There's another one buried. So the way this is mounting is quite a bit different from the other. So according to what's going on with this, I need to take out these two guys. Right? Yeah, because power's up here, so it wants me to go remove this, this, and this. It's going to mount to these 3 with these little standoffs here. It's got this one, which is actually this one up here, above the memory. Further to the right. Yeah, because some of these were never populated. It's like looking to get those. This one here and here. There's a notch. This is for this guy. So directly beneath. I'm going to connect to quite a few here. So I'm going to grab the ones I know and remove them. Let's see if this will sit down flush this time. Hopefully that's all it takes. This block weighs a ton. It's definitely floating now. Does that mean I'm on something? Let's see. Lowered it down quite a bit. Okay. Let's see what we have. There we go. Thermal compound was transferred. We are now making contact. Beautiful. So let's see what they gave me in this baggie. I'm not sure I'm going to have to transfer these thermal pads or if this in fact is... These are thermal pads. Well, that's convenient. It's so convenient that I'm going to use the stock ones instead. Because I'm sure it doesn't matter too much. Yeah, I think I'm going to use the new ones. I don't like not knowing if these are going to be 100%. How surprising they omitted this guy here. So it won't touch anything now. Anyways, let's go ahead and grab some pads. I'm checking for here is it may want me to take the back plate off. I'm not seeing a good way to affix over here. There's a threaded insert on the bottom of these ones that I had to remove, but these are also threaded. So it does appear that this back plate may have to come off after all, which sucks, so I didn't want to take that off. I guess let's see what they have in the hardware. This may not matter. These are the same as the factory screws, so I probably don't need any of those. These are super skinny. Hopefully, that's a good thing. So, skinny screws. Too bad I can't read Chinese. Assuming these small screws are supposed to bypass the threads that are in the back plate, since we had to remove those screws. This is for this specific graphic card, so it better not have done something weird. Okay, I was right. So these things, they gave me tiny screws, so these are the same size screws that are in the whole basically assembly I just took off, and the new ones are only threaded at the end and they're a lot smaller, so they will bypass these threads since we did have to pull those out. Thankfully, someone thought of that. So in that case, let me clean this up real quick because my fingerprints are all over it, and we should be able to apply thermal paste and just start assembling it. Okay. Now let's go ahead and not cause problems in the future, meaning blowing this thing up immediately, by taking all this plastic off. I'm sure someone's done this before. Oh, well, looks good. Did you take the plastic off your cooler? So we should be good. I've got all the VRAM, which was all these right here. This was, I guess, power delivery or something. Yeah, down there. All right, now we're at the point to where I can see how this thing does. So since everything's threaded from the back, we're just gonna flip here. Maybe we're not. Let me elevate this so it works. Alright, so let's go this way. Alright, so let's secure the GPU first. And the screws I pulled out were these ones. Put those back in there. Or not. Get in there. Thank you. Yeah, the screws they supplied are the exact same length. I guess they expect someone to take the screws off and immediately lose them all. It's not that it matters, there's silver and black on the back of here, but these are those black chrome kind of like a dark chrome look. A lot of times no one ever sees the back plate anyways. Depends how you mount your card though. If you set it like it's laying here on the table, not that warranty void sticker. Stupid. Yeah, if you have it in a standard case, then sure, you're staring at the back plate and can't see anything else. But now there's vertical mount GPU things and all that, so you can see what's going on and show off your stuff. Warranty void, huh? Wasn't that made illegal recently? There's something about it. I think Jay's 2 cents or something talked about that. Alright, so these are not torqued down. I just want to see if there's something that's going to move around when I do this. Go and drop these funky ones in. Stand off there. Here. Here. One up here. And this one. Am I missing one? Thought it took out more than that. Still have 2 screws left over. Put this in real lightly and see if I'm missing one for some reason. I swore there was a couple more. Everything's loose, but it's in, so I don't lose them. So we've got 1, 2, 3 on that side. That one is in. No, that's actually all of them. All right. So I gave you 2 for those who lose all the screws. I'm gonna tighten these a little bit. Okay, and then these ones. A different screwdriver. I was not feeling so well. Will this work? Yeah, that'll work. Well, there we go. I've got a few screws left over, a bag of stuff that I don't need, and a few screws left over from the original back plate mounts. And there we are. One of the only ways to water cool a RX580 graphics card. And this is the PowerColor card, but we are now fully assembled. We retain the back plate. I like back plates. Gives you something to grab onto. You don't have to worry as much about ESD and shocking the board and breaking things. That's kind of what it looks like all together. Fingerprints and smudges and all. So I think this should do well. I do have to hook it up to my loop, obviously. You'll see the pass-through ports on the top baffle there. And if you aren't a fan of having this Bykski logo on the top, it's a sticker. You can actually peel that off, leave it open, or put your own sticker there. So there's kind of your difference from going with the big fat air cooler that actually does do very well in this card to something a lot more low profile and nice looking. Now there is an argument that water cooling a RX580 is stupid and pointless and you aren't going to overclock much by water cooling it, but this was more for aesthetics and space savings, because the case I have does not have a lot of room on this side because it does go near a side panel. So just showing you the thickness of the Waterblock compared to the stock cooler. You can see there's quite a bit difference here as far as what we're working with. So this goes slightly over a 2 slot. Now basically the card, other than this top, I believe that's a DVI, which whoever the hell uses DVI anymore, basically converts it to a single or 1.5 slot card. So a lot more room compared to what was in there. But man, does it weigh a lot. I'm kind of excited to set this up in my build, get it running, put some water through it, and see what it looks like. So thermals should be better regardless, since the fans never really ran on here, or when they did, it was just slow. So now that we're actually running liquid through here, it shouldn't add much temperature to the loop at all. I will check those out in the future once I get this hooked up and the computer build finished, and I can let you guys know how it performs.